Yo, welcome to Sig Slayers, the comic interview show, period. I'm Mike the Sig Slayer, chilling with Mark the Honorable Villain. What up, fam?
What's up, Mike? We're here with a wonderful character designer. This guy's worked on some of the top DC animated projects, man. Let him know who we got, Mike.
That is right. We have character designer and all-around great artist, Coran Kizer Stone, joining us. But before we chop it up with Coran, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment. All right. Our next guest has worked on all of your favorite DC animated projects. I mean, Young Justice, Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2, Batman Year 1, Green Lantern, Emerald Knights. Man, ladies and gentlemen of the Stash Land, we bring to you the one and only Coran Kizer Stone. What up, brother?
Hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing?
Hey, man, we are doing fantastic. Glad to have you on. We're about to just dive right on in. Been looking forward to this. Coran, since it's your first time joining us, we like to get your comic book origin story. In other words, how did you get your first job working with comic book IP?
I was posting work just on DeviantArt on the internet, and I got to know, I guess, a lot of people in the industry, and I had no clue that they were in the industry. I thought they were just people drawing like me, superheroes. And so when I used to work as a security guard working at the docks in Jersey, where I'm currently located because I just moved back from California. And but when I wasn't on patrol, I would go back to my booth, and I would always have I would bring to work my Xerox paper, 8.5 by 11 Xerox paper, with little tuna fish sandwiches and my black and white television, and I would watch television and eat the sandwiches, I always had sort of an idea about what I was drawing. So when I got home from work, I would scan those drawings in, color them up in Photoshop, and with a mouse, by the way. I had no clue that Cintiq existed at that time. And just add my little, description of why I drew whatever I drew. Well, that started getting the notice of a lot of people in the industry, like Warner Brothers and Disney and all that stuff. Warner Brothers hit me up first, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to work for us?" And I was like, "How'd you get my number?" But yeah, sure, I'll definitely do that. And so 2 days later, I moved out to California, and I've been working in the industry ever since of animation. Yeah.
And what was your first job in animation?
My first the first project I worked on was, I think that was Superman Shazam. Yeah, I worked on that as a storyboard revisionist. I had no clue what a storyboard revisionist even was, but I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I can draw. And I think I could fix pictures up and sort of describe what's in the scene. Yeah, sure, I definitely. So that's what and I was working under this awesome directors, very talented directors, Joaquin DeSantos and Kian Ryu.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I was like, just learning from them, soaking everything up, and Superman Shazam was my first project.
You worked on one of my top 3, Young Justice. We interviewed Greg Wiseman last year, and we wanted to get your recollection of working on Young Justice. And what did you feel about the final product once it was already out?
I thought it looked awesome. I mean, I worked around some really cool, extremely talented individuals. I was like, I couldn't believe I was like surrounded by them. It was just really cool. We were, pleasantly surprised by what we saw, end result. Because a lot of the times it'll go to a studio, and sometimes they'll put 50% of their all into it, right? And so we were happy that the majority of the the episodes that we saw from Young Justice turned out really cool. And some of those background characters that I worked on, because I did a lot of the tertiary characters when I worked on that show. Phil Barassa, lead character designer on that show, he thought that me and him had sort of, we had the same sort of sensibilities when it came to design of characters. So, and we had been knowing each other for a long time before. Even we both started working in animation. So he was like, yeah, sure, come over and work with me. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Coran, you have a huge following in social media, and like you said, you're posting your stuff on DeviantArt. A lot of artists are initially reluctant to post their art so freely, but I believe you didn't have that problem. Why do you embrace social media the way you do?
Well, I always have a story in my head that I want to tell. And I'm always like, I wonder if what other people think of these weird sort of ideas, right? So that and back in the day, before even DeviantArt existed, I was posting stuff up on forums. Back in the day when you can make your own little free website, I did that, and I put something up. And I was surprised this guy named LaShawn Thomas, he saw my stuff and he recommended me. And I was like, oh, wow, there's really people out there on the internet that's looking at my work. But yeah, that's so I started doing that and then posting stuff up on forums. And that just sort of like, and then people started commenting. I was commenting back and they were like, some of them was actually they were professional. Some of them, like when I was posting on this forum called conceptart.org, they were giving like constructive criticism, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Yeah, I'll take I don't mind feedback and creative input." So yeah, that's what and I just continued just doing that, putting more and more work up. And then when DeviantArt came along, I was like, "This is just a whole community of just everybody who loves art, and especially the type of stuff that I love to do." So yeah, that's one of the reasons. I think forums and DeviantArt was the big reasons. Yeah.
Your resume is very action-packed and it's very full of superheroes. Where'd you initially draw your inspiration from? Was it comics or was it animation?
Animation definitely first. I didn't so much get into comic books until I was about 12 or so. But animation I always watched. I was just because my older brothers, they, would watch the Saturday morning cartoons, and we would just get up really early in the morning to, make sure that we catch the first show that came on Saturday mornings. The kids these days, they probably don't know what they're talking about if you say
nope.
But ABC, I would turn it back and forth. This is back when they had dials on television. The ABC, and I go back to NBC, and then, back in the day, little Channel 11, CBS, Garfield. So, but yeah, but later on, when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, I started collecting comic cards, back when they were just making cards sort of based on the show. It was like seeing the show, and they had little pieces of gum inside of them, and that's my first time collecting cards at the 7-Eleven up the street. And then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do more of this card collecting. So that's what really got me into superheroes, because Jim Lee cards started coming out and Marvel cards, and I was like, I want to start collecting comics, and that's when I really started focusing more on superheroes, So yeah, Turtles kind of got me into superheroes.
Wow, that was a gateway, man. For, like a lot of people, right? The cartoon. I mean, that was big, man. The cartoon was huge. Coran, I want. Speaking of that, the cartoons and animation. Coran, I want you to speak about the ecosystem of animation. It takes a lot of people to get a show going. What is the hierarchy of production as it pertains to animation? Like, Who calls the shots? Like who does? And where did you fit in all of that?
Well, you got the producer and the supervising directors and directors. You have the storyboard artists, and then the character designers. They're kind of like, same level, and then and the people who are writing the whole cartoon. Storyboard revisionist is, I guess, a little below the storyboard artist because, the board artists, they kind of create what's going on after reading the scripts, and the storyboard revisionists are basically just fixing all that, making sure that it looks like Superman. You know what I'm saying? It's a model, maybe a little bit, and also giving sort of scene and descriptions. I started off as a storyboard revisionist, and then I moved up to storyboard artist, and then they made me a character designer. That's what I'm currently doing. I'm a main character designer for most shows, and I mostly just like, they'll give me a description of the character. I'll read the script, the whole script, not just part of the script. Some character designers just like, I'm just gonna read my part, and it was like, nah, you just read the whole thing. It's okay. Or just let the computer read it for you. You just listen to it, But you have to know what's going on in the overall story in order to like really draw the characters. But yeah, that's sort of my role as lead character designer in most shows.
If you was to compare, because we cover comic books and comic book character, comic book IP, comic book making process. If you were to compare animation production to comic book production, what are the 3 to 4 most important roles in animation that will kind of compare to comic books? Like, for example, like in comic books, you got the writer, the penciler, the inker, color artist. Like, what are the bones of animation? Like the people that you absolutely need to have in animation?
Well, you definitely need a character designer. I mean, in order to design characters like myself. Otherwise, you will have no characters. You just have backgrounds, right? Where's Spider-Man at? All I see is New York City. And then, of course, background artists. You need them. You need, of course, the writers. Good writers. Sometimes you work on shows with okay writers. Fortunately, I've worked on some really cool shows like Greg Wiseman, like you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like storyboard artists, of course. So yeah, storyboard artists, character designers, writers, and directors. And
directors. Okay.
Yeah. You need them.
Okay, now, all right. So so that's like from the behind the scene perspective. Now let's talk about from the fans' perspective. Like when you're going to some of these conventions and you're meeting and these animaniacs, but like real fans, because there's fans that know the ins and outs of animation, who produced it, the legacy, and all that stuff. Yeah. From a fan's point of view, what role is the most popular? And I mean, we could throw in too the voice actors too, because they're there as well, right? But who gets the most shine from the public scene, like, and who are the unsung heroes as well?
The fans usually, I would say, they like the character designers, I guess, like myself. I don't know why we stand out so much. Maybe it's because we are designing the main characters of the cartoon. Like Phil Barraza is he's a known character designer. He's working on Vox Machina right now as lead character designer, and but directors, I guess, the writers of they get attention.
Who are some of the unsung heroes? Like
I would say background artists and some of the prop artists. They don't really get that much shine, unfortunately, but they do a lot of work. Like how are you going to interact with that thing over there if that's not there in the first place? Everything when it comes to animation is a part of the story. It helps the story. There, like if something in the background is they have a car and a specific car in the back, that's a supporting character in order to tell that story. Is within this, overall scene or whatever. So, you need. But yeah, I befriend all of them. I love them. But yeah, they don't really get that much shine, unfortunately. Prop artists and background artists.
Now I got a bonus question before you hop in, Mark. And then this is like the collector in me, because I also know, like, especially like Disney fans. Like, I know most of my friends that are animation fans, they're like super into Disney, and they collect like VHS tapes and just all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But as far as the art world, right? Collectibles. What are the collectibles? I know back in the day, like during the Bruce Timm era and stuff, like you can get like animation cells and stuff like that. What do people buy today that are considered collectibles from animation, like that pertains to the actual show?
I wouldn't know. I'm not a collector, dude. Never really. I mean, I was back when I was a kid, but as I got older, I kind of stopped. I collect like comic books every once in a while. I'll get one. I'll go to the comic book shop, but I'm not really so much a collector as much.
Do anybody buy like your art or anything? Do you do commissions or?
They buy my art sometimes, like when I'm at conventions and I'm doing.
Yeah, so what are they buying? Are they buying prints, or are you doing like pre-made sketches before the show? Like, that's what I'm talking about. That type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, at conventions, I'm drawing superheroes, and they're mostly just attracted to like the most popular characters, Spider-Man's, the Batman's, stuff like that. Stuff that they know that I draw, and they like that I draw them the way I draw them. And so usually my commissions are people, who want me to draw what I've already been drawing on the internet. Like
Got it.
Denim, stuff like that. So.
And so when they're doing it, are you doing like full on, black and white colors? Is it,
Yeah, it's mostly just black and whites. Sometimes I'll get the big Sharpie out and just Sharpie that baby, and just maybe get a Copic, like gray Copic marker, But I want them to see it. I want to, and I'll do it on some big paper, like 11 by 17, so people from a distance can see what I'm drawing. Like if it's like a huge bust of a head, I'll do like a big Venom face, and, with the tongue all over the place.
That's cool.
Coran, I want to ask this question about production. Tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges of being a character designer? Like, especially like starting a show from scratch and everything.
Probably a lot of the times you're not provided the most information. And so you have to go hunting for it, and then you'll design something and it may not fit exactly what they're thinking. And so they're like, what is this? And I was like, well, you didn't provide anything. So I had to like take it upon myself, do my own research. So next time, but yeah, that's mostly it. I don't really have them. Fortunately, I've been doing it long enough to where I really don't have as much problems as I used to back when I was younger. I used to be afraid to ask questions, like too many questions. I thought maybe they were just like, let's just get rid of the guy. He asks too many questions, I was like, well, how does he not understand? That's what I thought they were saying, but it's good to ask questions so that you give them exactly what they want in terms of character work. So aspiring character designers, make sure to ask more questions. Yeah.
Perfect. And so I want to ask a little more about your art background. The only name I think you mentioned was Jim Lee. Who are some of your influences, either from comics or specifically from animation?
Whoa! Oh my gosh. Well, back in the 90s, the golden era of comic art. That's what I consider them. Maybe because I'm a 90s baby and I grew up in all that, mostly 90s. But of course, Joe Mad. I was a huge Joe Mad fan. And of course, Jim Lee, all the big guys who started Image Comics back in the day, which Eric Larson, Tom McFarlane. I even like Rob Liefeld. I know people, people talk about him these days, but to me, he was kind of in some ways like the Jack Kirby of comic art. It was like every page is a splash page. I don't care about story. It's about splash. It's about the Michael Bay of it all. And then I was a big fan of like digital colorists.
Yeah, so are we.
Yeah, back when it started getting, when it was really getting started in the 90s, like the mid 90s and up, like Liquid and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. Like, is this? I didn't know if it was like manual or this was like, like it was being done traditionally or this was
right.
Digital. And when I learned that, they're using like computer now to color comics, I was like, how are they doing that? What technology? Space age. So I didn't realize it was something called Photoshop until like 2000s. But I was I'm a big Norman Rockwell fan, J.C. Leyendecker, NCYF. I love all everyone, from every part that inspired me. Part of history. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. I got a whole bunch of books on him. Picasso. I'm a big graphic design fan. So I have I just like to mesh a whole bunch of things in one and see if people recognize that hey, you put a little graphic design in the background there. He knows the stuff.
It's cool, man. Oh, well, you mentioned technology, and that's my next question. So, Coran, much of your work is digital or will become digitized, working in film and television. There's a lot of concern about the influence of AI within the conceptual art community. Mm-hmm. And so as a concept artist, where do you stand on all that stuff?
Well, when I was a kid, I've always sort of been interested in technology, and I'm not so much. A lot of my friends are like, it's going to take the place of all of us. We're going to be obsolete. Like, that episode of Twilight Zone, obsolete, man. It's like, nah, we're not. This is a waiting game. I feel like traditional art is now being appreciated because even more so than it used to be, because there's so much of, you can just prompt in something and you get something visual in a matter of seconds. So, and it's not as special when you can do that, right? I think of something that takes time to make, like a chair, a piece of furniture, then a piece of furniture that can be made like multiple times in one, in 1 hour. So it's not as special when you can mass produce a million chairs all in an hour. It was like, what I'm saying? But I like that one. It's got some care. Somebody put the passion and heart, So and it's more valuable. So I think it's a waiting game when it comes to us as artists, especially those who can do not only digital, but also can do traditional work as well. Don't give up the traditional. Don't give up the pens and the papers if you're an artist. I totally don't. I draw every day on paper. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think people will start appreciating artists more. Artists don't be afraid.
You bring up a great point, Coran, and it's an interesting point because you're embracing both sides. And I've never seen that stance before. I've seen the stance of the doom and gloom, the obsolete man. I've also seen the embrace it, go with the flow, or you will be obsolete. Go with the flow. But you are saying, hey man, you gotta be entrenched on both sides. Embrace the technology, but still embrace the fundamentals. Yeah.
I mean, like, what can the artificial intelligence do for you that can somewhat give you an advantage in this whole, futuristic age, digital age that we're living in. We have to sort of in some ways capitalize off of it before it's too late. But also, I'm an analog baby as well. Like I was born in the analog age, and sort of I came into sort of that digital age when the internet was blowing up, and I realized, oh shoot, I can look up anything and get it. Oh wow, oh okay, Spider-Man it is. So yeah, but yeah, I would say just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the future. The future's gonna come whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. Coran, you worked on both parts of the Dark Knight Returns animated adaptation, which is based off the classic comic, as everybody know, the Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Is there a fanboy moment throughout any of this stuff, man? You did a lot of things in your life. You got to be proud of yourself, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I can't believe, like, am I really working on this project? It's pretty cool. But sometimes you don't have the time to just sit back and just, be in awe that, you like Bruce Timm is standing right there. It's like, wow, and he's judging my work. He's just looking at my stuff. He's like, who did this? But yeah, it's later when I have the time, I think about it and I'm like, I've worked on some pretty cool stuff. And I'm pretty happy about that. It's all because I just like to draw. I draw a lot. The reason why I became a character designer in the first place is because I don't know if you guys know who James Tucker is.
Of course, the legend.
Raven the Bold.
Yeah, so, man. Down with all that, man. Batman anime series, Justice League, Superman, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you call it? So, James Tucker, producer, he was working on The Brave and the Bold over at Warner Brothers, and he was just about to finish up with that show, and it was about to jump on another show, another Batman show, but way more dark, like way more sort of teenager, more directed towards teenagers and young adults, and that was my last day. Like my last day was as a storyboard artist over at Warner Brothers was when James Tucker was like, hey, can you come in and I want to talk to you about something in my office. So I was like, yeah, sure. Am I being reprimanded today? I did before I leave. This is gonna be weird. But no, he wanted to make me a lead character designer on a new Batman show. I was like, what? Okay. I could do that. But when I knocked on his door and I opened it up and he was like, he asked me one question. He was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do what you do. I want to be a producer. He said, no. What do you want to do right now? I said, lead character designer of the show. He said, oh, okay. Well, you're going to be the lead character designer on the Batman show. I was like, okay. So the next day, that's how I became a character designer because of James Tucker. I was like, wow,
really?
Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's a great shout out to James Tucker, man. That's the only reason why I know about him is because of the DVD bonus material from the Batman animated series and stuff.
Yeah, I watched all that too. Yeah, I love the behind the scenes stuff. Of every movie, I watched the behind the scenes before I watched the actual movie sometimes.
Brian, we're on our very last question. Is there something that we haven't talked about that you want the fans to know about? Any upcoming appearances? Any new projects you want to shout out?
I'll be at the Lightbox Expo. I'm not sure if I'll be there. I'll be exhibiting art. They invited me there, so I'm happy about that. That's pretty cool. I have to go over to California, 3,000 miles away from here.
It's like in Anaheim or something like that, right? Or where's it at?
It's in Pasadena.
Pasadena, there we go, Pasadena.
Yeah. So I'm planning ahead of time to make sure I got my hotels, I got all my prints. I'm gonna send my prints over there because I hate carrying stuff. When I'm going on any vacation or just anywhere far. So I'm gonna send out everything over there, and yeah, so Lightbox, and that's pretty much. Oh, I'm working on a whole bunch of projects. Marvel Snap stuff. Some documentary. I'm doing some conceptual art for documentaries, and I'm starting to do some covers for comic books, which is pretty
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I just finished. I did this some Dynamite covers, which is pretty cool. For Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so I was like, I want to start doing some covers to sort of like show that I can do covers. So like if Marvel and DC want to do covers, I'll do that too. But yeah, and a whole bunch of other character design jobs that I can't talk about.
Can't talk about obviously, but man, that was great news to know that you're entering the comic book world, doing covers, and you're gonna be at Lightbox. So we might see you there. So this has been fantastic, man. Coran, thank you so much for joining us. I just want you to know you always have a home here on the Sig Slayers station, brother.
Oh, thanks. And one thing I would like to tell people is like one of the reasons why I left Jersey so quickly, and moved to California is because I came up with this whole saying of if you give yourself too much time to think about anything, you can talk yourself out of everything. So don't give yourself time. If you feel like you're ready, just do it. And everything will work itself out.
Man, mic drop on that, man. That is dope. That is all for our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the like button. This is Sig Slayers. I'm Mike, speaking for Mark and Coran Kizer Stone. We are out. Peace.
Sig Slayers.